We continue our coverage of Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States, but Pakistan yesterday, through Imran Khan, who addressed the United Nations General Assembly, once again launched a diatribe against India, raking up the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, equating Hindutva with fascism and accusing India of human rights violations. Now, India at the United Nations has exercised its right to reply and delivered an absolutely stinging rebuttal to Imran Khan's claims made yesterday. Let's listen in to what the Indian side said.
Mr. President, we exercise our right of reply to one more attempt by the leader of Pakistan to tarnish the image of this august forum by bringing in matters internal to my country and going so far as to spew falsehoods on the world stage. While such statements deserve our collective contempt and sympathy for the mindset of the person who utters falsehood repeatedly, I am taking the floor to set the record straight. Regrettably, this is not the first time the leader of Pakistan has misused platforms provided by the UN to propagate false and malicious propaganda against my country, and seeking in vain to divert the world's attention from the sad state of his country, where terrorists enjoy free pass while the lives of ordinary people, especially those belonging to the minority communities, are turned upside down. Mr. President, member states are aware that Pakistan has an established history and policy of harboring, aiding, and actively supporting terrorists. This is a country which has been globally recognized as one openly supporting, training, financing, and arming terrorists as a matter of state policy. It holds the ignoble record of hosting the largest number of terrorists proscribed by the UN Security Council. Mr. President, we marked the solemn occasion of the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks just a few days back. The world has not forgotten that the mastermind behind that dastardly event, Osama bin Laden, got shelter in Pakistan. Pakistan leadership continues to glorify him as a martyr. Regrettably, even today, we heard the leader of Pakistan trying to justify acts of terror. Such defense of terrorism is unacceptable in the modern world. We keep hearing that Pakistan is a victim of terrorism. This is the country which is an arsonist disguising itself as a firefighter. Pakistan nurtures terrorists in their backyard in the hope that they will only harm their neighbors. Our region, in fact, the entire world, has suffered because of their policies. On the other hand, they are trying to cover up sectarian violence in their country as acts of terror. Mr. President, this is also the country that still holds the despicable record in our region of having executed a religious and cultural genocide against the people of what is now Bangladesh. As we mark the 50th anniversary this year of that horrid event in history, there is not even an acknowledgement, much less accountability. Today, the minorities of Pakistan, the Sikhs, the Hindus, the Christians, live in constant fear and state-sponsored suppression of their rights. This is a regime where anti-Semitism is normalized by its leadership and even justified. Dissenting voices are muzzled daily, and enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings are well documented. Mr. President, unlike Pakistan, India is a pluralistic democracy with a substantial population of minorities who have gone on to hold highest offices in the country, including as President, Prime Minister, Chief Justices, and Chiefs of Army Staff. India is also a country with a free media and an independent judiciary that keeps a watch and protects our constitution. Pluralism is a concept which is very difficult to understand for Pakistan, which constitutionally prohibits its minorities from aspiring for high offices of the state. the least they could do is introspect before exposing themselves to ridicule on the world stage. Finally, Mr. President, let me reiterate here that the entire Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh were, are, and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. This includes the areas that are under the illegal occupation of Pakistan. We call upon Pakistan to immediately vacate all areas under its illegal occupation. Mr. President, allow me to be categorical about India's position. We desire normal relations with all our neighbors, including Pakistan. However, it is for Pakistan to work sincerely towards creating a conducive atmosphere, including by taking credible, verifiable, and irreversible actions to not allow any territory under its control to be used for cross-border terrorism against India in any manner.
So that was Sneha Dubey, the first secretary, exercising India's right to reply in the aftermath of the speech that was delivered by Imran Khan at the UNGA. Yesterday, we're joined by Srinjoy Chaudhary live for the latest updates coming from the UN with regards to India's rebuttal. Srinjoy, that is as comprehensive a rebuttal as one can possibly deliver to the claims made by Imran Khan last night.
Yes, she's a 2012 officer, currently in the New York office of the PR, the permanent representative. Very stinging reply to Imran Khan's statements. The point that has been made is very clear. The fact that terrorism is institutionalized, something President Biden acknowledged also in the meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday. It was acknowledged by President Biden as well. And that will also be very public shortly. But what India has said in the United Nations is very important, that terrorism is institutionalized in Pakistan, that terrorists are trained, armed, and sent across the line of control to create havoc. The fact that Hindus, Sikhs, Christians are terribly treated in Pakistan, that anti-Semitism is institutionalized, that Osama bin Laden is a hero, and this has been acknowledged by, of all people, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, currently Imran Khan. So that is what India has said very unequivocally, and perhaps setting the tone. Prime Minister himself will be speaking in a little while, and already the points have been made with Kamala Harris and with Joe Biden, because in the Biden's meeting, cross-border terrorism came up, and not only did it come up, it was acknowledged by President Biden and accepted. The Indian position
Srinjoy. In
was
fact, I'm also joined by Nikunj Garg, who's bringing us all the developments from Washington as well as New York. Joining us now live from New York. Nikunj, good evening to you there. Now, we just heard Imran Khan deliver his speech at the UNGA yesterday, and India exercised its right to reply subsequently, where they issued a very stinging rebuttal to the claims that had been made by the Pakistan Prime Minister. But looking forward now to what Prime Minister Modi himself will be saying at the UNGA, one can in fact go back to 2019, Nikunj, when in the aftermath of the decisions taken with regards to Article 370, Imran Khan once again, as expected, had raked up Kashmir, but Prime Minister Modi, in a very statesman-like approach in his response, did not even name Pakistan in his speech at the UNGA. What is likely to be Prime Minister Modi's approach today when he addresses the UNGA later on?
Well, these things do depend a lot on the personality of the leaders. And as far as I can understand, Mr. Modi is the kind of man who would certainly like to give it back. On most occasions, what happens is when we believe that the truth is on our side, we certainly like to settle the square it off, you know, and settle the scores. So, as I said, that according to my understanding of Mr. Modi, he is certainly the kind of man who would not take any untruth, particularly lying low. So therefore, my own understanding is that in his own measured, calculated way, he will certainly want to give it back to the Pakistani Prime Minister, Pakistani establishment, also to set the record straight at such an august forum.